Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock Lunchbox. Of course, if you're watching on Strangerhood TV on YouTube, welcome to the Top 20. It is a much colder November 13th, 2025, and even though winter is not here, winter is coming. And no, I never watched Game of Thrones. Actually, that's not true. I watched the first 10 minutes of Game of Thrones, and I was like, this isn't for me. So I did not watch the rest of Game of Thrones. But that is not unusual for me, who is slowly making their way still through 6 Feet Under, which I believe is almost 20 years old at this point. So not exactly nailing it, but as long as we're talking about Netflix recommendations or television or show recommendations, let me just go on record, and they are not a sponsor, but the brand new Guillermo, I am so not Spanish, Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein is absolutely fantastic. I could not recommend it more. If you're looking for a movie recommendation, that is certainly my movie recommendation for the week, probably the month, possibly the year. It's long, but it moves, and it is really, really well done. And as much as it holds true to the original Mary Shelley novel, it does add a little bit of flavor, but it adds it in the style of the Mary Shelley novel, which is what I appreciate. Didn't go on to ruin it like Beetlejuice 2 or anything 2 for that matter. So, yeah, highly recommend that. If you were tuning in just for that movie recommendation, feel free to check out and leave, because there's nothing else about that going on this week. There is a brand new Top 20 out. I, for the life of me, can't remember what it was, because I suck, and I have not done my due diligence once again. Although this week I did actually get music for the show, but in true DJ form, I forgot to bring it over to this computer, so I will do that slowly as we go. I also have Andy's Higher Learning from last week, which I also forgot to bring over to the computer, so I will grab that during the local block. You do not need to worry whatsoever. So I had mentioned that I was going to tell the noodle story last week, and I didn't get to it. I'm going to probably tell it this week. I do want to touch upon just what I've learned in the political and socioeconomic landscape this past week. Obviously, I think I don't know that this is obvious, but I believe the government shutdown is over. I know the Gang of Eight capitulated to the Republicans in the Senate, and I do have something to offer about that. And maybe, I don't know, honestly, I haven't really spoken to anybody outside my immediate family about what they think about what just happened, so I don't have, like, my finger on the pulse of anything at all, ever, but, like, currently on this, I really don't. I just have my 2 cents on how I'm reacting to the information in the world, so I may have something to add on that. But one of the things I actually did this week, because keep in mind, like, the government shutdown happened, and this is, for me, this is probably the most important thing, right? The government shutdown happened, and there's a bunch of casualties in that, right? Federal workers, federal programs, and all that other stuff. But the one that was getting the most media attention was the SNAP benefits. Now, SNAP is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. It's basically food stamps and food assistance if you have EBT cards. It's historically one of the most successful economic programs there is. For every dollar spent by the government, it generates $1.80 in economic revenue, because people are working, people can eat. It's not, the people in the supermarkets and the store, it just generates all that other stuff. If you need more information on that, just look that up, because I don't feel like giving another econ lesson here. But that was like the big thing, and effectively what it is, it's food assistance, right, for families and individuals that don't make enough money to pay for food. If you've been shopping at all recently, you'll know how expensive stuff like food is. So you can imagine that, like, some people might need food assistance. Yep, we have food pantries, and there's things that are run by churches, often food pantries, and there's always some kind of community assistance. But it's at its most basic level, it's just it's money for individuals and families that do not make enough money to afford enough food for themselves or their families. And I was curious, because I did not know this information, so I actually decided to, poke around, read some government sites, and then I actually found this dude that walked through the SNAP enrollment form. So we were going through the 2025 eligibility requirements, and I found that to be incredibly helpful. The statistics on it are a little mind-blowing to me. There's 44 million people that get some sort of SNAP benefit. Obviously, not everybody gets the full amount, right? There are requirements. First of all, and to dispel any myths whatsoever, one of the main requirements is that you must be a U.S. citizen, like a valid U.S. citizen, or you can fall into a very small group of protected non-U.S. citizens. These are usually like asylum. Sometimes they are people on visas and stuff like that. It is an incredibly small group, but in no way, shape, or form can you be undocumented and get SNAP benefits. It's like right at the top. Now, does that mean that undocumented people can't go to food banks and food pantries? Of course not. Those are completely separate, and those are not government run. So for all my MAGA friends, or the 3 that I have left, just be quite clear that you cannot qualify for government federal assistance if you are not a U.S. citizen or in one of these very small protected categories of non-U.S. citizens. So that's first. The second thing I found out that was interesting, and I wanted to know what this was, I wanted to know what the income cap was. So it turns out to qualify for SNAP benefits, you have to be earning less than 125% of the federal determined poverty level, which means basically for a family of 4, you have to make less. I don't remember the exact number, but it's just over $40,000 a year. This is a family of 4. Right? So you have to make under $40,000. Now, there's a loophole with that I'll go into that they didn't go into, because the loophole really shouldn't exist, and it's something that's been bothering me for absolutely ever anyway. So we'll get into that for a second. So that's the thing. So, right, you got 44 million people getting some sort of SNAP benefit, and every single one of them, or everybody in there that's a family of 4, because that's a stat. For an individual, it's like $12,000 a year. I mean, I can't even imagine what job you would be making $12,000 a year at. I mean, I'm assuming it's part-time this or that or whatever. Like, I didn't break down the math. I focused on family of 4 because that seems to be a good metric that people can understand. So that's making about $40,000 a year. That's gross. That's your gross. Like, you still pay taxes on that. Everyone has to pay some FICA and all that, state taxes and all that other nonsense. So you can imagine what these people are bringing home. So what that stat right there says to me is you have 44 million people, 1 in 8 Americans, right? That's not, like, you hear a number like 44 million, it's like, what is that? But it's 1 in 8 Americans qualify for SNAP benefits. So that's that many people making about $40,000 a year for their family of 4. Now, the wealth and income disparity in this country is really not up for debate, and people that are still defending it are just retards, as far as I'm concerned. Or they're just mean. They're haters, and they're just awful people. Like that, I guess that's acceptable too, like an acceptable answer. Because the answer is always like, well, we'll just get a better job, right? But they never really bother looking into why people can't get better jobs. Like, have you ever met stupid people? I mean, like, half of them just, voted for Trump in the last election. Ha 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 ha, right? But some people just can't do jobs, right? Some people have mental health issues. Some people have extraordinary family situations where they can't work full-time jobs because they have to take care of a sick child or an elderly parent. Like, there's millions of reasons why people can't earn more than $40,000. Apparently, there's 44 million reasons that you can't do that. That are not all individual, right? But so you have this situation where these people are making less than $40,000. Now, I will say that something that kind of hit me is that the max benefit you can get if you're making just under $40,000 for a family of 4 is you can get upwards of around $1,000 a month of food assistance. That's a lot of food assistance, right? Like, I realize that food is super expensive, but, like, I wanted to deep dive further into what $1,000 a month actually buys you, because honestly, I'm not sure that I spend $1,000 a month on food. I mean, yeah, if I'm getting steak or whatever, or we're getting ready for a holiday, like, sure, I can go north of that. I don't eat lobster, so that's not really a problem. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not rolling out filet mignons every day, so, like, maybe that's what that is. But I don't know what that entirely encompasses. So I needed to find that out. I'll try and find that out next week. If it's at all interesting, maybe I'll go into it. But so that was a lot of money. So, like, that's why I understood, like, because the number that had gotten me was, like, it cost $8 billion a month to fund SNAP, right? That was the thing. And that seemed like an awful lot of money to me. But now all the math kind of works out if you think about it. But I wanted to know what those costs were. But I did not do that amount of work yet. I'm going to try and do that this coming week, and I'll find out for you. But the thing I wanted to mention, and I wanted to put all that into context, is you have 44 million Americans on SNAP, and they have to make under 40 or just around $40,000 a year or under. And if you're an individual, like I said, it's like closer to 12. So these are the people that we're talking about, right? They're not making a whole lot of money. $8 billion sounds like a lot, but sounding like a lot for 44 million Americans all of a sudden doesn't sound like that much money, especially considering some of the other budgets we have in this country, right? Like defense, for example, congressional salaries and stuff like that. Stuff starts adding up. But again, we come back to the fact that this is simply food assistance, right? We're not, technically, I guess it's a handout, but it's not like, hey man, here's some money. Like, here's money that goes on a credit card that you can only use for food. And there are limits. You cannot use your EBT card just anywhere you want. You can't buy lottery tickets with it. Like, I mean, unless you're doing some shady stuff with a shady place. Like I said, there's always loopholes and there's always a problem. And I'll get back to that $40,000 loophole in a minute. But so that's who we're talking about. That's the amount of money that we're talking about. And when the government shut down, the SNAP benefits were going to run out November 1st. I was talking about that a few weeks ago. It certainly happened. And all 50 states have some sort of SNAP stuff because it's paid for by the states and then backed by the federal government, right? They get reimbursed for it. So states like mine here in New York, they went ahead and fully funded SNAP because they didn't want New Yorkers to starve. And I don't know if they're just banking on the federal government having to pay this eventually, which now they will. But although, you know, the Trump administration can pull all kinds of nonsense, I'm sure. But you have, other states, like red states, where Trump actually told their governors, like, don't give them the money. Like, starve your people. Like, that's the Trump administration message. Starve your people that cannot afford food. Even in red states. And there are more red state Republicans on SNAP than any other demographic in the country. So definitely towards his base, definitely screwing them over because, as I said last week or the week before, like, if you are for this, you hate poor people. And Trump and the Trump administration absolutely hate poor people. You don't see them inviting poor people over to their Versailles and Gatsby parties at Mar-a-Lago, right? Yeah, they hate poor people. And that is not in question. Like, that is demonstrably and observably true. That's just right there. But the thing that really struck me is that the Trump administration was like, well, we don't have any money, so we're not paying this. Okay, that's understandable. Oh, you have a $5 billion contingency fund just for this sort of emergency or other sorts of emergency. We don't want to spend it on that. It's a contingency fee for food, for people that need food. So the courts, states immediately filed lawsuits telling the Trump administration that they needed to do this. And the courts, all the way up to the federal courts, said you have to pay for this. You have to pay at least half by, whatever date they gave. And the Trump administration appealed that to the Supreme Court. So the Trump administration had all the cover they needed. We don't want to pay for this, but the courts ordered us to feed our American people. The court ordered us to feed Americans. But instead of just doing that and taking the cover with whatever, really rabid MAGA people out there that were like, screw these poor people, they appealed it to the Supreme Court to not feed Americans. That's all you need to know about the Trump administration. I do not understand for the life of me how anybody else that can possibly keep supporting such a horrendously anti-American and anti-people administration. And the only solution I keep coming up with is that these people that keep supporting them really detest poor people. or they're just completely retarded and stupid and don't understand how it goes on. I come on here every week and I try and explain very simple things very simplistically so that simple-minded people can even understand it if they choose to. But these people are just unbelievable, and let alone that the Democratic fight was to protect the ACA tax credits that expire at the end of the year, and thanks to the Gang of Eight, they're only going to get a vote in the Senate that we absolutely know is going to fail in the Senate, and even if it miraculously passed in the Senate, Mike Johnson, the absolute douche from Louisiana who's in charge of the House of Representatives right now, has said flat out, he's like, I'm never going to call it to the floor, so it's never going to see a vote, so it's never going to pass. So those tax cuts are absolutely 1,000,000% going to expire by the end of the year. And as we've covered on this show, that means people without insurance through their job who get it through the ACA exchange are now going to be paying double, triple, or in some cases like Maryland, are going to be paying 4 times what their insurance used to be, which means those people, because again, you have to make under a certain amount of money. I think it's 175% of the poverty level. I do not know that fact, but I know it's in there somewhere. So you can't even get on the exchange if you're making, say, $100,000 a year. So these are people that are not making a lot of money and now have to pay 2, 3, and 4 times their insurance payments come January 1st. And they're just not going to have it. So they're not going to have that money. They're not going to buy the insurance. So now we're going to go back to having under and uninsured millions of Americans in this country. And the whole reason that they did the Affordable Care Act in the first place is because uninsured Americans are bleeding this country dry, because they bleed community hospitals, local state hospital budgets. They bleed those dry because you cannot leave somebody to die in the street in this country. Right? This isn't Belarus. Like, we just can't do that. If you see somebody dying in the street, an ambulance is going to come pick them up. They're going to bring them to the ER of your local hospital. That local hospital still has to pay for all that medicine and the doctors and the ambulance and all that other stuff. So where do they get that from? They get it either from their own personal budgets by overbilling you, people that are paying for their insurance, or they bill it back to the state who get to pay for it from taxes from people like you. So having under and uninsured Americans in this country just means people like me are going to be paying more. So I don't understand why we wouldn't help other people get, some sort of insurance so that we don't have this big tax bill at the end. Like, it's so stupid, and it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But yet, here we are. We're being run by a bunch of idiots, and we have a bunch of idiots that just keep supporting this nonsense. Like, they always think like they're going to stick it to somebody. Like, who are you sticking it to? Like, it sticks to the rest of us. Like, you dumb morons. Like, this is how, like, it's a net, like, there's just this much money. Like, if we're going to get it, and we're not going to pay poor or help poor people out, and we're going to give that money to the ultra rich. The ultra rich aren't helping anybody. I mean, dude, Elon Musk just got $1 trillion salary. Like, are we kidding? Like, we're talking about a family of 4 making $40,000 a year or less, and this absolute douche nozzle is making $1 trillion, and everyone's just fine with it. Like, I can't even bring myself to understand this stuff anymore. It's just, it's frustrating, obviously, and I would like it to be more frustrating for other people too, and it just isn't. Like, the people that are in it, like, I understand, like, I get it, like, they seem to understand what's going on, and the problem is, like, people are so upset. People on the right are so upset that there's, like, so many scams going on. Like, you know what the biggest scam is? Like, wealth tax. Like, that's the biggest scam. And that's this thing, we've covered it a million times. Like, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos don't take a salary, right? So they don't have income, but their wealth is billions and billions of dollars, right? And don't think that $1 trillion salary that Elon Musk is going to get is going to be in the form of, like, well, here's your weekly paycheck and here's your deductions. It's not going to work like that. Because anybody with that kind of money is hiring really good accountants. Like, that was my argument with, like, 50 Cent when he came out against Mamdani. And he was like, you're going to bankrupt all the millionaires here. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to get bankrupted by a tax that your accountant can't get you out of, like, you need a new accountant. And, like, yeah, you wrote a pretty good song a long time ago, Curtis, but maybe you should really start thinking about, like, where you came from and the people that are being affected by this, because that's most of your listening base. And yes, I understand there's always scammers out there, but to punish 95% of the people for 5% of the scammers when we're talking about stuff like food and healthcare, I think is ridiculous. And I did want to circle back to that loophole because I kept saying I was doing it. Here's the thing that bothers me the most about those loopholes, and I know this for a fact because the way you can structure your books as a corporation can allow you to do that sort of thing and take almost no income, which all of a sudden then you qualify for things. There's way, like for my own company, there's a way that I can structure everything so that my income is $10,000 a year, and all I really do is I can assume income. I can assume value from my company, right? Because if I don't take a full salary, my company is worth more. But that isn't taxed as income. And the problem is that when you're, dealing with straight income, I can make $10,000. Like, I don't need SNAP benefits. Like, I know that. I'm saying that out loud. I do not need SNAP benefits. But I know that legally I can structure my company to the point where I can absolutely qualify for them. I think that happens to be wrong, so I don't do that. And then the final loophole in that, and this is the one that bothers me the most, people keep complaining about income taxes and, taxes in general and stuff like that. So people are always like, but I pay off the books. Well, people that get paid off the books all of a sudden aren't making that money that they're getting paid off the books for. So if you're making $60,000 a year in cash, because, and I'm not calling out any group in particular, but like a lot of people in the service industry, if you pay cash for big jobs, you pay them cash. Like, they don't charge you sales tax, and sales tax in places like New York is north of 8%. So, if it's $1,000, like, yeah, it's $80. But if it's $10,000, it's, $8,000 that you're paying extra on. Like, this is, like, these are not insignificant numbers. Wait, do I have that wrong? No, $100,000 would be $8,000. My bad. My math is off. I didn't sleep well, obviously. $100,000, it's $8,000 that you're paying tax on. $10,000, $800,000. Right, so this is a lot of extra money. Like, if you're already paying $10,000 for something, hopefully you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's $10,000. If you're going to pay an extra $862.75 in sales tax because you live in Suffolk County, like, now you're paying almost $11,000 for it. So it becomes very attractive to sort of pay service people in cash, right? So they don't charge you the sales tax unless it's home improvement. And then, of course, you can get like some sort of weird loophole for that. I don't do enough home improvement to know how that actually all works. But so if you're paying, like, I don't know, landscapers in cash, if you're paying like the guy that cuts down your tree, like, I always have to pay the tree guy I have in cash because that's all he'll take. Now, I can hope that he's taking the $500 I just handed him to trim the maple tree in my backyard. I can hope he's reporting that, but if he's not, then he's not, right? Like, but it's on me to find somebody that does do it the right way. The problem with my tree guy is I really like my tree guy, so I'm kind of stuck. And yes, that absolutely makes me part of the problem, and I feel bad saying that, but that's the case. But if you have people that are making like $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 in cash every year and just claiming, I don't know, $10,000 in income, well, those people just got free SNAP benefits if they were so morally not obliged, but like morally okay to do so. I don't find it to be morally okay to do so, because as far as I'm concerned, you're taking food away from people that actually need it, and that's just wrong. So that's the loophole that bothers me. All the contractors out there that pay people in cash so they don't have to pay taxes on it, like, those loopholes are constantly a problem. And yeah, that's part of the problem here, because people have complained to me, like, I'm really tired of seeing people on their SNAP benefits drive up in their brand new Escalade. Well, they're probably making money in cash, and somebody's probably paying them in cash. So it's not just them, right? It's the people that are paying them too. Like, if we didn't pay people in cash, then we wouldn't have this problem. But here we are. So there's definitely two sides to all of it. It's like I used to say, like, really funny during the first Trump administration, when I'd see all these Trump stickers on pickup trucks picking up all the illegal undocumented people at CVS and Home Depot. It's like, dude, you really need to pick a lane if you're going to be really this mad about a situation. So, but anyway, It's been 2 weeks in a row I didn't get to my Noodle story. I will tell you the gist of it is that Noodle really doesn't like our fans at all and doesn't really care what they like to listen to. And if that sounds like kind of a teaser for next week when I will finally tell this story, well, then you're probably right. But before I get into this coughing fit that is definitely inevitable, let's get to some music. I always start with some local and undersigned national music because it's a fun way to give a little bit of a voice and a little bit of a block to people that I think deserve more attention, and this week is no different. We'll start you out with Glass Mansions, who seem to be like one of the most successful undersigned bands I've ever worked with, ever, because they just keep putting out great stuff. They play at South by Southwest every year, and yet I just don't see that they are big as they ought to be, and I don't think this is going to help at all, but I did like the song. So we're going to start with Violet this week on the box.